Once upon a time, I got through to the grand final of an event called the Red Bull Kart Fight. This was a big nationwide event, a little bit like BIKC is nowadays, where you'd start off at an indoor kart track, and if you set one of the fastest lap times, you got invited to the local finals, and then if you got through the local finals, you went to the regional finals, and finally, if you did well enough at the regionals, you'd go through to the grand final, which was held on the streets of Cardiff in Daytona D-Max cars. Now, this was quite a bonkers affair when you got to the final, because the track was really bigger than any actual Daytona circuit, and the longest full throttle section was way longer than the longest straight at any Daytona circuit. So we were actually going pretty fast in these D-Max karts, and the day was damp and drizzly and wet for some of it, although by the final it had pretty much dried out. So after Mark Webber did some donuts in a Formula 1 car and Daniel Ricciardo drove around in a NASCAR, it was time for the karting itself, and the format was pretty similar to a lot of kart races that you will have seen, 3 heats and a final. And I actually won all of my heats. What you're seeing right now is one of them. I think this is heat 2. You can see it's pretty damp in this one. I'm actually wearing a wetsuit, but I'm out front leading. But then, for no reason that I ever found out, I somehow qualified second for the final, even though I was the only person who won all the heats. Now, the footage you're watching here is courtesy of my mum on a 2011 mobile phone, filming the big screens around the circuit. So this is the only record of this event. I can't find any official footage anywhere, so you're going to have to bear with the graininess. I've tried to stabilise it to make it a little bit more watchable, but also my mum saying "Go Brad" quite a lot. So if you hear that, just know she was happy for me and she was just supporting me from the sidelines. Jake Humphrey was there, as you can see, doing the interviews. I'd actually met him at Palmer Sport already before this, and I'd instructed him in several different race cars, so we actually knew each other before this. It was just a coincidence he happened to be hosting this event. He was the main presenter of the BBC Formula 1 show back then. You can hear my little pre-race interview with him right now.
Keep on his tail, get past him, what's the plan, what are your tactics, and what are you going to do to win the Red Bull Kart? Pretty much what you said, try and stick with him, he's quite quick. You can tell that he's got really great on.
And obviously it's quite hard to hear because this is being recorded, as I say, through an old mobile phone from the speakers at the side of the track. But basically I'm saying, yeah, pretty much what you said. Jake had just told me what he thinks my plan was, stick with him and try and make a move at some point. And then he goes on to point out that I was being picky about having quite a large chunk of my steering wheel missing and how that was going to lose me some time. Obviously I was just joking about that. And before we knew it, it was time for the race to start. But let me just point out some things before we get going. The surface was really weird. So where we're sitting right now is kind of a gravel. It's the type of tarmac where you've got little stones that have kind of been just thrown on top of hot, sticky tar. So it's basically really rough and quite gravelly. And on the way down to this section, this kind of stadium section here, it was very bumpy. It was almost like we were going down steps. And you're going to see that when we drive down the hill into this large kind of circle zone. And next, let's talk about my competitors. So around me on the grid, well, pole position for a start is a driver called Liam McGill. I believe at the time he was racing Junior Rotax, so no stranger to these two-stroke karts. I wasn't racing anything, apart from maybe some occasional rental karts. I was working at Bedford Autodrome as an instructor, but definitely not actively racing. Behind me on the grid, in the bluey yellow helmet, someone very well known in the karting world, and that's Anwar Barul Smith. He just won this year the Tillotson World Final, so he's been going quite a long time, same as me, and he's still going strong. And behind him in the black helmet, a driver who's going to feature heavily in this race, is Jack O'Neill. You might know Jack from European and British Pro Kart Endurance Championship, one of the absolute top drivers. He's won loads of stuff, like pretty much everything you can think of in endurance karting. And so what I'm saying is all the drivers that have made their way to the front of the national final here are pretty decent. So this is quite a hard field. Now, just for clarity, I'm the driver there in the red helmet, so we're quite distinctive, the top 3 or 4 there. You can tell who's who. Back then my colours were red. I know you might now be more used to seeing me with a neon green helmet, but I'm the bright red one there. So that's the driver hopefully you're going to be supporting for the next 10 minutes or so as we get into the race. We're on one of a couple of warm-up laps, I believe, but as you can see, it is kind of damp. Certainly sections are damp. If you're offline, it's pretty slippery. We're on slick tyres, obviously. And we're heading round to the start line, all warming our tyres, although it looks like I've given up at this point. Definitely did some aggressive weaving slightly earlier on. This was a really tricky section here, so it's a really high-speed left-hander, a big damp patch across the track. You can see it right there, and it carried on round to the left, and then it dropped downhill into this stadium. Now that's the first of one of these kind of steps. You see these stripes across the track here. They're kind of steps that went down one by one by one. You're going to see the carts dropping down and bumping as they go. We then had the gravelly right-hander. I already explained to you about this surface. You're going to see me and other drivers make several mistakes through that corner where we go deep, and that's just because we're arriving at high speed and it's really slippery. This was the long flat-out section. So earlier on I mentioned that the full throttle section is longer than any Daytona track. That's this bit. So although there's a kind of S in the middle of the straight here, it is all full throttle until the braking zone for the hairpin that's coming up next. This hairpin's quite a crucial overtaking point. Again, apologies for the footage. This is my mum's best shot, filming a big screen whilst trying to also watch the race herself. So bear that in mind. Now, we're winding up for the start, so I've gone deep to try and cut back. Unfortunately, it hasn't gone green yet, so I haven't got any benefit from it just yet. But watching out in the distance for the lights changing was a big feature of this race. And I saw the green light, or the green flag actually, as you can see it being waved there. Got a better start than Liam, immediately into the lead. But don't worry, this is going to be a lot more interesting than me just taking the lead and driving off. That isn't about to happen. You're going to see me and the other drivers make lots of mistakes. Here's the first mistake. Anwar locks up, smashes into the back of me at this hairpin, nearly takes me out of the lead, but actually ends up just taking himself out. And Anwar Barul-Smith now won't feature for the rest of this race. So he started off in the top 3 there, and he has just made a big mistake on lap 1. So it's now me, Liam McGill, and Jack O'Neill. I've just gone really, really deep and hit the wall, and I need to show you a replay from a different angle that someone was filming from the side of the track. So here we go, I come through way too fast, clip the barrier, and another driver does the same thing and nearly rolls. So look how wet it is on the outside. I obviously got on that damp section, and that could have gone really badly wrong. Lucky I didn't bend an axle. But anyway, back to the race, and you'll see I've lost the lead, and that's because of that momentum loss of hitting that wall, and it's immediately gone full course yellow because of this enormous barrier repair that's partly caused by me, but I think mainly from the guy that hit it a bit harder than me behind. And so we're now just waiting for this yellow flag to clear. I'm obviously frustrated that I'm down in 3rd place now, but nothing I can do, and I know I've got the pace to move forward because I've won all the heats all day. So being fast enough to get back to the front once the track clears shouldn't be an issue, as long as I don't make silly mistakes like that one again. Okay, so Liam's setting the pace here, everyone's bunched up behind. Just note how many karts there are in this race. There's a load of us there. This is the A final, so this is just the best drivers. There were other drivers in the event, but this is just the top, looks like maybe 20 drivers, and you can see that we're all quite close together. The reason I say to notice that or to look at that is because later in the race it's going to spread out massively, and the top 3 are going to have a huge gap over the rest. Right, we've gone green again, and already the top 3 are broken away, so I don't know what was happening to P4 there, maybe just not paying attention. Looks like Anwar's up to 5th there in the background. Don't think we're going to see much more of him, but it's Liam, and then we've got Jack looking to try and maybe make a move. He's not gone for it, and I'm very eager to get through. Because really, I've not ever won anything big at this point in my racing career. I've won the Toyota MR2 Championship in cars, but yeah, in karting terms, this was by far the biggest event I'd done, and you know, we're being broadcast, there's thousands of people watching, and okay, a couple of the guys in front making mistakes. That's where I made my mistake on the previous lap. I think they both went wide there. In fact, Liam's gone really, really wide. Jack's definitely gone wide because I've gone up his inside. So now we're back up to 2nd place. So just need to work on consolidating, getting back to the front. I think the race is 10 minutes long, and we're about 2.5 minutes in at this point. Liam went really wide there. That's going to give me a run. Here we're up to at least 60 miles an hour. You know, we've been flat out for ages at this point. And then into the hairpin. I go way too deep. Big mistake. Just blame it on inexperience and a damp track and trying a bit too hard. And cold tyres. We can say cold tyres too, but we're still quite a long way in front of the rest of the field. But at this point, Liam looks pretty comfortable out front, doesn't he? But I know if I just don't make stupid mistakes like that, I can actually catch him. And with Jack not going for this move and me catching Liam on the brakes here, we're now relatively close. I think I've obviously got a decent kart as well. You know, all of us here must have pretty good karts because we're dropping the rest of the field at this point. Now, I'm not going to go too quickly through this corner where I hit the barrier previously. Yeah, we're a bit more under control. You can see the kart squirming around underneath us, but not hitting the barrier, nowhere near it. Here's the bumps I was saying. We're coming down those steps into the gravel zone, and I've kept it tighter than Liam. And now we're right on his tail, and we're in the fight for this win. So a bit of a slipstream through the flat out section. Flat out and a bit damp there. You see we're all sliding a little bit wide there, but yeah, I've lost a kart length or two. Should be able to gain some of that back in the slipstream. I just need to not go stupidly deep like I did last time into the hairpin here. That's a bit more like it. And you can hear my mum cheering me on. Looks like Jack behind me did the corner better though. He's right on my tail. He was a bit closer to me. And now the top 3. We're all obviously quite closely bunched. And it's definitely just a race between us 3 here. But who's going to make a move? Am I going to be dropped back down to third? Can I go for a move to P1? We're just all being sensible into the hairpin. No mad lunges. This was extremely tight. So that corner was horribly tight. It's one of those corners that if you've driven D-Maxes, you'll know they bog down quite a lot if you really have to go slowly through a very, very tight hairpin. A bit like a Club 100 kart as well. And no opportunity to really vary the line because it was just so tight. Right, we are inseparable at this point. Down into the gravelly section again. Liam's struggling. He got sideways there. But him getting sideways and then closing the door absolutely killed my momentum. So I've dropped back. And look at this crash. I've just been smashed pretty hard by a barrier that someone else threw across the track. So I was in second place. I'm now down to third. There's a little action replay coming up that's going to show you in a bit more detail what just happened. Because this was nearly race ending for me. I was very lucky not to bend an axle just there or get hurt, to be honest. I could have had the block hit me in the face. So any moment now you're going to see what happened. It's full course yellow again for exactly the same reason as it was full course yellow on lap 1 where the barriers were across the track. So the Daytona marshals are just currently putting the track back together. You are going to see an action replay any moment now, but we're all just going slowly. Here are the marshals working hard. They're full of water, those blocks as well, or some of them are anyway. Not just because it's been raining, obviously just to try and keep them in place. So what happens is someone runs wide in the same corner I ran wide on lap 1, except they hit the barrier so hard it completely closes the track for us going up the fast straight. So here we go, they're about to go in the distance, bam, watch this block fly across, smash me, there I go. I nearly came out of my seat, I hit that so hard, but managed to just about keep going. So very fortunate to not be out of the race at this point, but we are back down to third place. So now need to try and make back up 2 places and a big gap to the leader. And we're just watching out for when the green flags come out. Still yellow. Don't think we're really closing in. So Jack was being very, very fair here. He wasn't closing right up to Liam under the yellows, which he could have done, and probably wouldn't have got any kind of penalty for that. Kind of natural closing of the field. Still yellow flags. I'm looking for a gap. Look at me. I just want to see if it goes green. I want to be able to dive down the inside of Jack. It's not green yet. Looks like they're waiting for the start line to go green. I'm trying to ignore the green traffic lights. Here we go. So green flag. A little bit like the start of the race, I get a jump on the kart in front, but this time I can't get round him. So yeah, he manages to just defend. Is there going to be another opportunity to get past? You hear my mum saying, get him, Brad. I've got to run down into the hairpin. Don't want to waste any time. Try not to go too deep. Liam went deep. You see the leader there went a bit deep on this lap. But I'm up to second and with quite a big gap to close down. So if Liam just drives really, really fast at this point, especially if Jack attacks me and I have to defend, I'm not going to be able to catch him. But let's see. As I said earlier, I think I actually have the pace to be the fastest in this race. Left to my own devices, not being smashed into by barriers, not making silly mistakes. Have we closed at all? I think we're getting closer. Well, I've certainly pulled away from Jack in third. You heard the commentator there say the others are way, way behind. We really had absolutely dropped everyone. And I think I'm closing in. So yeah, this is it. We're getting closer to Liam. I'm going for a ridiculous lunge. I've gone for an absolute ridiculous lunge. It didn't work. My mum got excited. That's why you can't see the screen. But nearly fell back down to third. Yeah, I managed to keep second though. But that was an absolute monster lunge. And I'll explain why I did that. I didn't know if it was the last lap of the race or not. I had no idea how long was left. And I thought, if this is my only chance to go for the lead, I've got to try it. So I tried it, didn't work. It was a really silly lunge. I was about 20 metres behind. We're going to have to try again. So I need to do that work again, close back up to Liam. You see the gap's back to where it was on the previous lap. Yes, Mum. Mum's saying, Brad, catch him up. Okay, we've got yellow flags again. So we're all raising our hands, probably not going as slow as we need to. Oh, Liam's actually slowed right down. He's shaking his head because I think he was quite comfortable with it not being yellows. Now this is crucial. So it's full course yellow. Listen to the commentator. Did you hear that? We've gone back green. So right now we're green. But we don't realise, because we haven't seen a green flag yet. We're still going around at yellow flag speeds, but I'm looking into the distance. I spot a green flag right now, and I just put my foot down. And I think Liam saw it slightly after I did. And so this time, instead of having to make a ridiculous lunge, I just drive straight past him on the straight. Now, after the race, Liam and his family, well, mainly his family, were telling me that I'd overtaken under yellows, and I was pretty certain I'd seen a green flag, but I wasn't as confident as I am nowadays, and I started to doubt myself, and it was only when I saw this footage back and I hear the commentator say, "And we're back to green," a good 15 seconds before I actually go past Liam, that I was a bit more confident that no, I definitely did see a green flag, and that was a fair pass. And there you see me doing my best to throw away the win by going a bit deep in the tight hairpin, but actually luckily I got a nice run out of there because the other guys couldn't come up my inside, so I've now got a little gap, 1 kart length. I think we're on the final lap. We're quite near the end, and it's quite close together. There we go, bumping down into the cobbly gravel section. Don't go deep this time, so keep it nice and tight. And then we're on the long flat out section, so there's not long to go, only a couple of corners. What happens next? Okay, Liam goes really wide. You see the yellow helmet of Liam there, slid wide on the wet section, trying hard to keep up with me. And now I've got breathing room. I've actually got a nice, luxurious couple of kart lengths gap as we go into the final corner of the event. And after a several month-long process to go through the locals, the regionals, get to the grand final, this big national final, I won the Red Bull kart fight. And my mum's quite excited. I'm obviously quite happy too. Look, I'm going to do quite a big fist pump in the air. Super happy. And then at the end here, we're down back in the gravel section and we get awarded our trophies by Mark Webber and the Mayor of Cardiff, I guess. And you can see here, there are thousands of people. You saw the traffic lights and the paint on the road. They closed major roads for this event, and I can't think of any big kart race that's happened in the UK since this where the karts were actually racing on the streets. So this was a real privilege to do this, and I don't think I'll ever forget this. Mark Webber congratulates us. He's got no idea who we are. I give a really terrible interview. I'd lost my voice celebrating, shouting. I feel sad for Liam there because I know he backed off because of the yellow flag or not seeing the green flag. But really, I was just really happy to be there and quite surprised. The prize for this was to drive on the Red Bull Formula 1 simulator at the factory in Milton Keynes. And, oh, let's hear my terrible interview. I've lost my voice, so I can barely talk. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm saying I crashed, yeah. I'd give a much better interview nowadays. If I was doing this now, I would give a much more polished interview. So there we go. If any of you out there are budding kart drivers and you win a big event, don't worry if you're a bit rubbish at talking to the microphone or talking to a camera when you're a bit younger. I was in my 20s here though, so I shouldn't have been that bad. I just hadn't done many big things. Liam here is very fair. So as I say, it wasn't Liam moaning about the yellow flags. He's quite magnanimous in defeat here. He's just obviously gutted. The poor young lad, come all the way down from Scotland. Yeah, so the prize was to drive on the Red Bull Formula 1 simulator. I did that with, well, both of these guys actually. We all went down there to do it. It was the top 3 that got to do that. And it was Jean-Eric Verne, who would have been the Red Bull test driver at the time. He was there doing laps with us. I saw Sebastian Vettel in the cafe. And the other prize for the winner was to fly to Brazil for the Brazilian Grand Prix as guests of Red Bull. So that was really cool. That was great fun. And that was a couple of months after this. All expenses paid, which is amazing. We were in the same hotel as the Formula 1 drivers. We didn't get helicoptered into the track though. We had to sit in traffic in a minivan all the way in. And actually, Jack O'Neill there gives a really good interview. You haven't heard him, but he did a great job there. Thanked the crowd and everything. I was just completely kind of speechless. And oh, look at this. So, see how I put my helmet down on the podium? See, even back then, I was doing that professionally. Got my nice lid, placed it down on the podium. So it's in front of us for the photos. See if I can add in a couple of the podium photos because they're better than the footage that you're seeing here. The mayor is going to congratulate us. Yeah. It's been a great event, made my day. I'm just leaving this on because I want you to see me spray champagne relatively badly. So these trophies were actually gears from Red Bull Formula 1 cars. I've got, they're still in my garage, these trophies. So they are gear ratios apparently used in this season or the season before. Give it up for Jack O'Neill. He went on to win a lot more things after this day. Well done, Liam. I don't know what Liam's done since this. I haven't encountered him in karting, so maybe he moved on to other things. Biggest cheer for Brad. Well done, Brad. What a legend. He never went on to do anything, this lad. Right, so they hadn't undone the champagne. Any race organisers who are giving out champagne, make sure you've got the lid off so that this doesn't have to happen. If you watch BRKC in January, hopefully you'll see that we've pre-opened the champagne for the drivers so they can just pick it up and spray, just like in Formula 1. I pour it all over my head, and yeah, My hair was terrible back then as well, so my hair being bad is not a recent thing. Look at the hairline. Even back then, there's more hair, but it's still terrible, and it's covered in champagne. There we go. So that was the Red Bull Kart Fight 2011. Hope you enjoyed that little blast from the past. This was just a little bonus video because I realised this hadn't been shared, and I've got a lot more subscribers now than when I first posted this video. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Love you. Bye.